Thanks, Pablo. I think it was a great presentation. And now we can get to practice, right? So what I want to talk about a little bit is about the project we built called Octant. It's a sustainable way to build, reward, and fund public goods with stake and rewards. And donation-based public goods funding is not sustainable long-term. We have a number of initiatives right now, like Gitcoin, in the space that have been funding certain public goods successfully, but if you're going to go and look, there are so many projects and only a small amount of projects receive like large donations, and what actually have to happen for people to receive those funds, people have to take money out of their pocket and fund public goods. I think there's a number of use cases where donation-based public goods funding works, but I think if we want to get to long-term public goods funding, we need to use capital-based public goods funding. What is Octant? At Golden Foundation, we created this mechanism where we're solo staking 100,000 ETH, which is approximately $200 million right now. Those rewards accumulated over time. They are accumulated approximately over a period of 3 months. And what happens after that is a part of those rewards goes to Octant. It goes to the smart contracts of Octant. They're called total rewards. And the remainder is transferred back to the foundation. Those rewards are divided into parts. There are user rewards and match rewards. So that's where it gets interesting and practical based on what Pablo was talking about. So the match rewards go to and get donated to fund public goods. And user rewards goes to users. They can just go and claim the rewards in the application, but what they can do as well is that they can apply self-taxation to that. So if they apply self-taxation, they can send a part of those rewards to the matching funds and to the projects to fund public goods, and they're going to be matched with the match rewards. So if user donations are matched with the funds from the match rewards, that gives users a leverage, and it gives them much more power to decide who to fund. So in this scenario, we are creating a system where you have like a large player in the space, and the large player decides to create a mechanism to have like capital-based public goods funding mechanism. We have the match rewards, which is a pretty large amount of the rewards that already get sent to fund public goods. But what we are also doing is that we give users power to decide who to fund and how much. Because when you apply self-taxation to the yield that you're eligible to claim, the more you donate to fund public goods, the more power you have. And another important point here is that we are building like an experiment in the governance, and we want to make sure that people participate in it. That's why there is a rule, no action, no reward. Meaning if you didn't come and didn't claim your reward during a certain period of time, which is called like allocation period that runs for 2 weeks, then you don't receive any rewards. And obviously you can just grab 100% of your rewards and go home. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. But if you actually donate a part of that, you're going to get matched, and you can really have a say in what you think public goods projects are important. So yeah, this is just like basically animation of what I just showed you. And we just successfully finished our first allocation, first epoch, and we distributed around $500,000 worth of ETH to 19 public goods projects, and there is some stats of this. So we had 24 projects, 5 of them haven't reached the threshold, and these are the top projects that received the funding. So the match rewards that I showed you before in this round were 230 ETH, which is approximately 70% from all the total rewards. And the individual rewards were around 100 ETH. And people who chose to donate a part of those rewards, they basically decided how to distribute the match rewards between 19 projects. The top receivers are Protocol Guild, Rotkey, Hypercerts, and Tor Project. So these are some of them you probably know. Protocol Guild contributes to the protocol layer and essential for Ethereum sustainability. And there's also some other stats that we see that 23 and 5% of donations went to public goods from individual rewards, and around 76 went to the people wallets. To be fair, from those 23%, a part of the percentage was donated by people who had a large stake in those rewards, and we call it like patron mode, meaning you don't decide who to fund, you just donate it to matching fund. And yeah, down there you can see like top projects by donors. So you can see the Gitcoin, for example, they are mobilized their community the most, so they had like the top amount of donations. But because of the smaller donations they received, the Protocol Guild was on the first place because they had like large amount of donations. And to visualize a little bit the leverage that the people had when they were doing those donations is like 41x, meaning the 5.5, these are individual donations not including this patron mode, and then they decided how to distribute almost 230 ETH. Yeah, so this is kind of the graph of how these rewards were distributed. And the red one is basically no action, no reward. So people just 9 ETH, no, thank you. I don't know why they decided not to claim it, but the funds that did not claim, they go back to the foundation. So yeah, that's like the first part. But the thing that we're mostly excited about right now, since we like ran the first round, we proved that that model, like similar to impact staking, actually works. We can fund some public goods and we can expand this model, extrapolate it, and how do we actually like fund all Ethereum public goods? So if we think about like a nation state, and that's what Pablo was talking about, like Ethereum nation, one of the functions of a nation state is to fund public goods, right? Some people just don't think about it because they assume that public goods exist, but there is a machine that generates them. And the machine is usually rooted in fear, right? Because there is certain responsibility from people, but mostly there is a fear. If you're not going to pay the taxes, we're going to put you in jail, and it's enforced by violence. But what if we imagine the world where we make a social norm to donate a percentage of stake and reward to public goods? Self-taxation is rooted in responsibility. Its execution is enforced by decentralized computation. It's a completely different world where you can choose to donate a part of your rewards to fund public goods, and we have the blockchain, the decentralized computation engine that is going to enforce that. So how we actually do this? So we created this mechanism design with Octant that already sends a percentage of the yield to fund public goods. The next steps forward is we want to experiment with different voting and allocation mechanisms, because right now the allocation happens in a linear way. We're going to experiment with quadratic voting, identity voting, Macy, and other mechanisms to see how they actually like influence the public goods projects and how people vote. And we also can experiment with multiple matching funds, because right now this mechanism works with Ethereum under Golden Foundation. But if you imagine that the same model can be replicated with other tokens, right? Not only with Golem token, you basically create a similar mechanism where people can decide how to fund public goods in their ecosystem and Ethereum in general, which can also like possible to create one large like matching fund to fund all Ethereum public goods. This is Octant. You can go and check it out if you're curious. How much time we have? 4 minutes. So we are really curious to get some opinions from the audience. I wrote down some questions. Feel free like to answer those if you have an opinion, or if you have like another question, I'm happy to discuss that, because I would really love to receive the feedback and understand What do you think about this? Sure.
Income can be automatic.
Yeah, it can be automatic, but then you don't know who's going to start using the system, right? I think the answer lies in the combination of those. For example, a certain mechanism can just cut 1%, and it's going to be just enforced by blockchain, and everybody going to go and see, okay.
You don't need any violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, right? But also in this experiment, we want to see how people choose to donate, right? Because you give people more flexibility and freedom. Somebody just doesn't want to send any yield to fund public goods, and somebody just wants to donate. But what happens in this learning curve is we can understand what people actually donated, what people care. So then you can like look at the blockchain, see who donated and how much, and give them more power. So basically, this is like a free rider problem. I have this like a secret slide in the end. How do we solve the free rider problem? You reward those who are not free riders. You give them back. You give them more voting power. You reward with different like social rewards, POAPs, hypercerts, and different things. And you create this layer of people who actually care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I guess the thing I'm curious about is depending on the jurisdiction of where the donor accounts are. So if there's going to be automatic donations made to a charitable cause, and you're in some jurisdictions might give you a tax discount on that. So could a proportion of that donation go towards setting up entities or charitable entities in all the different jurisdictions around the world that provide that discount as an incentive as well? So then, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing idea. I mean, we were discussing like different like tax questions in terms of when people choose to donate to public goods and how it relates to the legal questions. But thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
No, Dennison, you go ahead.
I was going to double tap on that. You know, being able to get a tax credit for donating public goods, I think could actually be the solution. I mean, there's a kind of overlap with like how people feel unfairly taxed in crypto with public goods with getting a tax rebate. So that could be a very, very, very viable solution.
Yeah, and I think also we are can create a better narrative for crypto in general, right? Because a lot of people see crypto as just people who try to make money around like the bull cycle, but there aren't many people who actually want to create system for the better future. So yeah.
This is kind of neither here nor there, but if nobody else has a more relevant one, I just wanted to say, I guess like something I think about a lot is that particularly in America, it feels like free riders get a lot, like there's no social stigma against it, right? And in fact, like that kind of hustle is almost respected in a hilarious kind of way. And I'm sort of wondering how we might build systems that kind of build inclusion and encourage people to contribute to their communities and have that be respected rather than maximizing your own personal extraction and having that be like what we idolize, which is pretty weird.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's why I think like, because we have the blockchain, right, we can look back in the history and do data analysis and understand who is actually not free rider, then you can just give more back to those people. And also like going back to a couple of slides, let's make it like a social norm, right? Like make a social norm, donate to public goods, do the self-taxation. This is a responsible thing to do. A protocol layer doesn't appear in itself, but most of the value is accrued on the application layer.
Yeah. There's a lot of value to us building these social connections, like genuinely. I think that matters a great deal.
Thank you.